everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with the 18th layout using the April Hip Kit, and I'm truly down to my scraps and I'm showing you some of the embellishments that is left. I have everything in this Project Life box top, I guess, because I'm trying to, on my Facebook group, the challenge this month is to make something out of nothing. And truly, I have nothing left. Like, I have little bits and pieces of pattern paper. And what I'm going to do, the layering, I guess, for this layout is going to be, one, I'm going to use that Amy Tangerine pattern paper that is the cameras, and I'm going to use that as a big part of the layout. But I'm also going to use little bits and pieces that are from the 6x6 pattern paper pad, and it's the little strip that's at the top, and it's got that little circle in the middle. So it's 6 inches, but then you lose about half an inch on either side. So what I'm going to do is I ripped all those little pieces from the 6x6 pattern paper. I am cutting that little strip that kind of has a little edge to it. I really don't like that. And I cut, in some instances, you use a punch and you want those little edges, but this would have made it really hard to line it up and butt it up side by side and kind of make a collage of them. So what I did, I took a piece of plain white paper, 12 by 12, and it's Stampin' Up, and it's the Whisper White, and it's smooth, and I like it a lot for when I use just a white background, especially white. The colored cardstock, I like it that it has a little bit of texture, but the white, I like it smooth, and for a couple of reasons. One, I like it better for mixed media because you don't see those little bumpies in when you use watercolor or paints or anything. And two, I like it better for stamping because it stamps out better. It's smoother. It makes it so that you're stamping it and you can read what you actually stamped, if that makes any sense at all. So what I did was I went through that 6x6 pattern paper and I ripped everything out, and then there was a whole bunch of them that were in the pinks. There was a bit that were sort of grayish, and then there was a whole bunch that were in the blues, and then there was some that had arrows and chevrons but in the different colors. So what I did was I sat again on my bed, and because at my scrapbook table I'm standing up. And I find that just the whole hour of scrapbooking, that's enough of standing up. But when I like to sort stuff, I like to be sitting down. So I sorted it in the pinks, and I added a little bit of gray in there too. And then I also added the little bit of red that was in there because I like to put pink and red together. And then I also made another bunch that I did the blues, and right now I'm doing all of the pink ones, and I'm going to do it on camera. But when I do a future page, I did this off camera because I'm just going to do it the one time, and then in the future layout I'll have it all done up. But basically I just cut those little nubs off, and now I'm going to take my quick dry adhesive that I did put in a fine line bottle, and I'm just going to butt up the papers. And the one thing that I made sure was the very first strip and the bottom strip is the same one. And then the rest, because it was a 6-inch strip and there was a circle in the middle, it was approximately, let's say, 2 3/4 on each side. So I had 2 strips, right? So I just made sure that they weren't close together. The rest of it really had no rhyme or reason. I just kind of picked up my, the little strips and tried to butt it up against each other. I didn't even use my trimmer. I just used my scissors, and a couple of them I had to kind of straighten them because they were a little crooked. But because it was only about 2 3/4 inch long, it's really easy to do it one cut of your scissors, so it's easier to go straight than if you have to keep cutting. And so that's going to take me a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to move right on to the layout. So this layout did end up taking me an hour and a half, and it's because of all the cutting up the little papers and then gluing them all down. I'm going to have some leftovers, and I'm actually going to use it on another layout. And then when I do another one of my layouts, I use the blue pattern papers, and that's the same thing. I'm going to end up having enough to do 2 layouts with that little strip. And I really like that. I really like using little bits and pieces, and that you could use your scraps, right? I could have used a whole bunch of scraps, but the problem was I didn't have that many scraps left. Literally all I had for pattern paper was the camera paper, and then the rest was really kind of odd shapes pattern papers. And I could have used the little bits that I had left on this, but I had enough of the strips that I wanted to make sure that I used up all those strips. And now those 36 pattern papers that I had in that 6 pattern paper pad, they're all used up, including those little strips. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this was a challenge that I issued on my Facebook group. The link is going to be in the description. And basically, the challenge is to do something out of nothing. So when you think you're at the end of that kit, when you're at the end of that paper collection, when you're at the end of that embellishment package, or anything like that, just to push ourselves to find enough stuff to do some pages. And I can tell you, I ended up doing 5 extra pages than I thought that I was going to be able to get done with this kit. And those are some of my favorite pages that I got done using this kit. And what I like to do is I like to take a kit, and I mean, I think on the Hip Kit Club Facebook group, there's over 600 people. So that tells me that there's over 600 people, that buy the kit. So I try to look at the kit and try to use it in ways that other people might not have seen those colors being put together, if that makes any sense. So I like to pull out the oddball colors in that kit and try to make layouts. And it just goes to show how these kits are so versatile. If you look at all the layouts that the design team put together, and then there's a whole bunch of people on YouTube that get the Hip Kit Club that are not part of the design team, but are doing some pretty amazing layouts with these kits. And it just goes to show how, like I said, versatile these kits are, and how many layouts a person can get out of these kits too. With this kit, I ended up getting 22 layouts, and I felt really good putting this stuff into my stash and moving on. And talking about moving on, we'll move on to this layout. So the little strips that I glued on I think it was about 3x12 Whisper white cardstock from Stampin' Up. And then I just cut it down to strips, 2 1/2-inch strips. I put one at the top, one at the bottom, and then I cut down that camera paper from Amy Tangerine. I'd say it's about 6.5 by maybe 9-ish, and I glued it down, and now I put some clear gesso because I didn't want to change the color of that pink pattern paper. I love that pattern paper. At first, I thought I was going to take a whole sheet and cut out all those little cameras separate, but I wanted to use that camera paper again. So I still have a few that I'm going to, be able to use that pattern or the cameras on a few layouts, and I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to reach for those watercolor pencils that we got in the color add-on for April. I'm going to use my new misting bottle, and it is from Ranger. It's a Tim Holtz product, and I love it. If you squeeze hard, it's a spray, and if you just squeeze halfway, it's droplets. So you can get different effects with it. So I took a couple of pencils, and I don't know, actually the two pinks, I think those were from, I ordered extras Prima pencils like from my stash, and I got a couple, or at least one of the pinks was from there, and then the other pink might have been from the basic kit from the watercolor pencil that came in the color add-on. And I know the black for sure came in the basic, and I just added it to some packaging, added some water, and made some smooshes on the page. And now I'm using my stamping block, added some water. I'm diluting some of the watercolor pencil, and I'm using the black, and I'm adding it to some modeling paste. And this is some modeling paste that I got from an art supply store here online in Canada, and it's called Curry's, and it's their own brand, and I think I paid $5 for that big tub. And as you can tell in the tub, it's not white. It's sort of like grayish, but once I add some color to it, I mean, it's $5. It works fine, and I bought it, so I'm going to use it. And this is a template that is from my stash, and it's little arrows. So I'm going to use, it's sort of like a little chevron arrow, and I'm going to do it at the top and the bottom of the layout. I'm going to clean that all up right away. And then I'm going to do the same thing using the pink watercolor pencils. And I really liked how much definition that added to the top and the bottom of the layout. And I kind of did the mixture off camera there just because I had to stop to make supper or something like that. And when I came back, I thought, well, I did the mixture on camera the last time, so I'll just do it off camera and kind of save some time. I think my camera was charging up too. I actually use my iPhone 6, and I just purchased the iPhone 6, and the main reason I changed to an iPhone 6 was so that I could use it for doing my process videos. And then I had to wait for that whole thing to dry up. That's one thing about that modeling paste. It does take quite a bit of time to dry up. So that's usually when I walk away and go do some laundry and, that kind of stuff, kind of wifely duties to get things done. And then when it's nice and dry, then I come back and get it done. So what I'm going to do is I mounted my photos on some black cardstock, and I don't want to cut the top and the bottom because I truly love that border that I made with those little scraps of papers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the edges of the pattern papers on either side, and then there's just going to be a little bit of black peeking on either side of the layout, and I love that. It's like I put a little strip on either side to kind of frame it, and I really like that. And there was a little piece that was kind of sticking out, so I just cut that off. And these are two pictures. In each picture, my daughter's in it, and then these are two girls that she met through cheerleading. The one on the left she met in grade 9. My daughter was on the school cheering team for a couple of years, and then when there was a cheering team that was international, that sort of opened their doors here in Moncton, she joined that team. And for a year or two, I think a year maybe, she kind of did both. And then she decided to concentrate solely on the international one. It was way more advanced, and they could do stunts that the high school teams were not allowed to do. And where she was a flyer, she totally loved to do the scariest cheers as a mom. I mean, my heart when I would go to a competition and I would see her do those, and she nailed it every time. The last year that she did scrapbooking, cheerleading, which was last year, she finished last May. Not once did she fumble or fall out of a stunt or anything during her whole competition year. She had a flawless year, which is amazing. That's pretty cool. And she was the one that was in the center. And I mean, my heart would just swell with pride because she did so well. But at the same time, my heart would skip about 50 beats. And sometimes I would get a little lightheaded because I was so afraid. And I have a ton of new subscribers. So when she was in high school, she had what could have been a very, very, very serious injury. They thought she had fractured her C3, which means that she could have been paralyzed from the neck down. And we were at the hospital for 4 hours because the ER doctor was convinced that her neck was broken. And he had 4 different specialists look at it, because when the first one said, no, it's not fractured, he didn't. Okay, sorry, the video cut out there. But it was, as a mom, it was the scariest thing ever. And we wanted to tell her to quit so bad, and the ER doctor spent a lot of time trying to convince her not to do it and to tell her, that it was a close call, and if she had a fractured C3, does she know what that meant? And it was really scary as a mom, but we've supported her. I have to say, I'm very thankful that she's done. But I mean, she's 21 years old, and if she kept going, she was always in so much pain because it is very hard on the body. And my head keeps popping in and out there because I was doing this layout when I was waiting for Mason to come over for the weekend. So every time I heard a car, I kept looking to see if it was him arriving. They ended up arriving a little later than I thought they would. So I was getting a little anxious that they hadn't showed up yet. And he showed up shortly while I was doing this layout. So anyway, there was a die cut that was in the Amy Tangerine package, and it said Friends, and it was in craft, and it really didn't go with this layout. So I took my Copic marker and I just changed the color, and then it's going to coordinate with this layout. And this layout is going to be, the title is going to be kind of, the title is going to be kind of grammatically incorrect, but the kids used to talk like this when they were very little. And so they would say stuff like, they wouldn't finish a sentence. They would just put 2 words together and say like friends, happy. And so that's what the title of this is going to be, just friends, happy. Because I was happy that she made some really good friends, and they're still friends still to this date. And actually the one on the right, the one that's with her to the right, they work together. And the one on the left is the one that has the little girl, and Katie spends a lot of time with them whenever she can. The kid has 3 jobs, works way too much, but she does make time for friends and family. Okay, so I just want to apologize. I feel like I'm like kind of like, woo, all over the place today. And I worked night last night. I slept for maybe 5.5 hours, and then I was up and I've been on the treadmill, and I had to take pictures of all these layouts, and now I'm doing some voiceovers because I had Mason for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't get done what I usually get done when I'm off. So I'm trying to place some catch up here, and I really like to get all the videos for April up and start with May, before I get my June kid in and try to catch up. But when you get 20 some layouts done with a kit, that's quite a few videos to put up. So, but I'm loving, like I said, these 5 last pages that I got done basically out of nothing. And what I did also was there was a couple strips left, and I put it in behind the photos, and then it's like sort of a mat, and also behind the pattern paper, the camera pattern paper, and so that kind of separates the whole thing there too. And now I'm using some stickers from Amy Tangerine that also came in the April Hip Kit. And I managed to use up some chipboard stickers that were from the Maggie Holmes confetti line. One says love you, the other one says XOXO. I did use some Heidi Swap chipboard stickers, arrows and stars and hexagons, and even a little check mark. And I used some branding strips. And the title, like I said, is the word happy, that was from the Maggie Holmes confetti line, and then the word friends, that was from the die cuts, and then there was another die cut too that said meet cute. And that's gonna pretty much complete this layout. The stickers that I used were, it just says you rule, good job, best, fun, 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 you're my fave, always. And it's just kind of words, that talk about one, my daughter, and then just kind of her friendship with her friends. And this one is going to be another one that I'm going to journal on the back because I don't want to wreck the front. And I'm going to cover the photos, and then I'm going to take some Heidi Swap mist, and I think that's called Primrose, and then also in the black, and I think that's called Black Velvet. And I kind of put too much there, so I'm kind of soaking it up. And of course, I stick my hand in it and make a little mess, but that's okay. It just looks like part of the messy background that I did with the watercolors. Anyway, I just want to apologize again for being scatterbrain today, and hopefully you still enjoyed the video. And here are some close-ups of all the little embellishment clusters, and that's it. The page is done. So I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking with me for the last 2.5 years, and my channel is growing, and for all your comments and your thumbs up. You guys are the best. So thanks for watching. Bye.